Well, I guess literally I just gotta go to work today, and everyone should be off tomorrow. It's Christmas, guys. So an early Merry Christmas from me. Obviously, I will not be having anything to do tomorrow besides just spending time with the family, like everyone else. I was just looking stuff about my car. So I've had my cars for about a year and a half now. And or is it a year and a half? Yeah, pretty much about a year and a half, I believe. But I bought it in May of 2024. This car. I think about a couple months later, I want to say around October, November, is when I didn't get like any headers or anything, just because this is my only car. I don't really want to go all out on the daily. Like if I had a different car, then I'd go all out for this car, but I don't. Only thing I do have is which are what I found out this morning was they're discontinued now, is SLP loudmouths. At least for the C5s. For C6s, they still make them for the C6s, but I guess for C5s they've stopped. So, which is interesting for me. I'm like, because I've been wondering why. I'm like, every time I look up SLP loudmouth, I go to their website or American Muscle, and it's not there, right? And I bought mine off of American Muscle. That's why I was wondering. I'm like, what happened? Then just come to find out this morning, they've been discontinued. I'm like, at least for my car. I'm like, oh. But even that, I'm like, this is about as close as you can get to like a straight pipe. It's loud, like it is loud, right? If you see anything on forums or anything of that matter online about the SLP loudmouths for these cars, they are loud. It's quite loud for me, right? For some people, you might already have like fairly bad hearing, so maybe it doesn't bother you. For me, it does. Even now, I've had this exhaust for what? Pretty much about a year now. I've lived with it, and yeah, it does, at least during lower RPM and during like cruising speeds and whatnot, like low RPM cruising speeds and whatnot, and then obviously on the highway, yeah, there is a little bit of drone, right? I'd say it does drone, just because it's straight. It's pretty much a straight pipe, right? It's a muffler delete. There you go. I've got no mufflers. I've got 4-inch tips on mine. They're gonna be pretty much as loud as can be. And I'm pretty sure from anything I saw, they are the loudest at the time, loudest exhaust that you could put on a C5. Even compared to a stock muffler delete, I think they said SLPs are still louder in general anyway. But I live with them. Yeah, it can be quite loud, I think, but I don't mind it, right? I'm like, I lived with it for a year. If I didn't mind it, I would have literally probably gotten rid of it in like a year, or not even that, like a couple months. I would have gotten rid of it at that point, but I wanted to live with it. I wanted to see what it's like to pretty much live with a straight pipe C5, right? And yeah, it sucks. The only time it really sucks for me is if I'm driving with anyone else in the car with me, which is not very often, right? Normally, whenever I'm driving this car, it's just me, right? So it doesn't bother me that much. But That's really the only time that it sucks is whenever I'm in the car with someone else, like my mom or maybe one of my friends or whatever the case is, right? I'm in the car with them, and yeah, it gets a little bit tough to speak, I guess, with a lower tone. Like you have to raise your voice, right? You have to raise your voice. You have to, what do you call it? I don't know, but yeah, you just pretty much. To me, it feels like I'm shouting, and that's about the only thing I can complain about for this one. But besides that, to me, it sounds great. I mean, the other thing is, I guess, is just the alignment of the exhaust. Like my exhaust is quite crooked. I will give it that. Like the left one, and it's very noticeable. It's not like you can't see. Like it's not like, oh, it's not that. No, it's bad. Right? Like it's a pretty bad alignment on the exhaust. Like you can, the left two is noticeably more tilted than the right ones. The right ones are fairly close to being straight-ish. Like they're relatively close, but I'm like the angle that the way the exhaust was made, I'm like they look like they're both like they weren't. There was no difference in how they angled it at all. Well, I guess it could be like more of a manufacturing thing, or it could just be my exhaust hangers. I don't know, right? Because I didn't think much of my exhaust hangers just because when I had the stock mufflers, they were straight, right? Like they were like literally like aligned perfectly fine. So it's like, okay, I didn't think much of it. I was like, if it's straight there, I'm like, I feel like I should be fine if this is done right. And I got it on. I was under my car for however many hours, just trying to realign it. So I was like, damn. But oh, brother, why are you going so slow? What's going on? Okay, but obviously you guys won't be able to hear my exhaust. I think the only time you guys ever actually heard my exhaust was during probably my first video. In that first video, it was mostly just like I think that one was mostly just off my phone audio type thing. There wasn't any sort of like right now I have a different mic for it, and it kind of just it makes it easier for you to hear me. Like the car, yeah, it is quite loud. Like even if I were to try it with like headphone audio type thing where I just kind of plug it in, it wouldn't work. The car's volume, I don't speak loud enough over this car. Like I basically feel like I'd have to be shouting, which I don't really like doing. That's not me. I like talking in a normal tone, especially early in the morning when I do these videos, right? Like, but I would say, yeah, for exhaust, back to exhaust. For exhaust, I'm like, if you really like just, flat out loud exhaust, obviously the cheapest way is muffler delete. That's the cheapest way to do it. Don't take much to do that. If you want still having like an exhaust system that was made by somebody and obviously it'll cost a little bit more, but you still want pretty much a as loud as possible. Yeah, I'd look into now. The ones I could see are probably like, I think it was like obviously Corsa, Borla are pretty much your more common ones. Billy Boat seems to be something that's pretty well done and well known for the C5 guys. Like a lot of guys seem to like the Billy Boats. And I've seen them. Like they're nice. They sound nice. Right, obviously mine is pretty much about as raw of a sounding car as it gets. Right. Like I've seen some videos of people doing catless long tubes with my axle back. I'm like, damn, dude. Like that is unbelievably loud. Like I feel like I would have to drive with like those little earpieces things or whatever. Just because I'm like, and this is an older car. I'm like, this car is it's not very good at, I guess, deafening sort of exterior noise. Like in these older cars, I'm like, compared to newer ones, you hear everything in this car. Every little thing, you're gonna hear it, right? Like there's nothing in this interior that's supposed to kind of, I guess, help or mitigate. It's not like newer cars where they help or mitigate some sort of exterior noise, like, you know, try to a creature comfort thing. Like newer cars, yeah, which sometimes it gets too much where it just makes the car feel like it doesn't have a soul. At least for these cars it does, but at the same time, I'm like, from a noise perspective, yeah, you hear everything. So if you're not used to it and you want to own this car, you're gonna have to get used to that. And especially if you drive this car on a daily basis, like me, which some people are not crazy enough to do that. I guess I am, right? But I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, especially the older Corvettes, I'm like, I feel like you can daily them, because I'm like, dude, these engines have been made in so many like vehicles, right? They share so many parts with different things. Like, and a lot of them are still on the road to this day. So I'm like, this thing is not like a super special rare engine, like all these like Ferraris and all this. I'm like, no, this has literally a modern day fuel injected 350 small block. Straight up. Like, it is the last 5.7 off the Corvettes up to this point. Right, ever since the C5, they have not put a 5.7 in any Corvette since then. It's always been they did a 6-liter for that little 3-year span for the C6, but from 2008 all the way to the C8, it's been, at least on the base models, just 6.2s over and over again. Obviously, the C8 broke that barrier with the Z06 and the ZR1s, where they dropped it down to a 5.5 liter, but that thing still makes more power. But I think for sound, if you want to do long tubes and you don't really mind it even as a daily thing, I'm not gonna stop you right now. You go ahead and do that. My only recommendation, if you do long tubes, right, is get some sort of heat shield or like I've seen thermal wrap the headers, please. Right, headers will generate more heat. And like, look at the C5 like stock manifolds. Like, I know people like the doggone engineers and all this stuff, yada yada. Cool, guys. I'm like, look at these stock exhaust manifolds. They have their own heat shields for a reason. It gets hot, right? This is a fiberglass car. This is a fiberglass car. It is not the greatest in terms of dissipating heat. Like, this car can get hot. At least for the underhood temps, especially there. Yeah, it gets hot, right? For um, for other cars, I don't think. I mean, I'm sure they have to deal with it, but for all the Corvettes, that's just the way it is, right? And these cars, there's not really like vents or anything. Like GM is like slowly but surely gotten better with trying to reduce underhood temps. Like the C5s never really had one of them like at any point, right? Never had anything to from factory that would decrease underhood temps. Then you got the C6s, which the Grand Sports, the Z06s, all of, like those ones above besides the bases, they got like the little vent by the bumper, right? They got that little vent. I'm like, okay, that's at least some sort of progress. Then you got the C7s, which obviously you can clearly see the hood vent straight down the middle on top of the hood, right? And so those ones started getting hood vents. They're trying their best to maintain optimal temperatures. Obviously C8s, most people like to complain about the vents in the back because water just gets in there and stuff. I'm like that's the hood vent, guys. Like that is literally what's supposed to let this engine kind of extract any sort of heat in it. I know people don't like it, but that's the way these cars are built. I'm like, I don't think they're gonna do that and make sure that like whatever is in there is not like waterproof or water resistant. I'm like, come on. Like they think about these things, right? It's still weird to see, right? Because you just see stuff going in the engine bay. Like you're not used to that with these cars. That's the one thing for the C5. You don't really have to worry about water getting into wherever it doesn't need to be. Like there is always an exit for any sort of water. They always think of that to get it out. Now, if you want to do hood vents, you can. I'd recommend there is a company like the cheapest way is obviously cutting into the current hood and putting hood vents that way. I've also seen some aftermarket hoods where people literally just replace the hood with an aftermarket one. It's more than likely going to be carbon or some sort of unpainted matte gray, right? And you know, like for those ones, yeah, it literally says it in the instructions. Please listen to them, right? It literally says to get hood pins, do that. Okay, this is not the OEM hood. If you're gonna cut a hole into your current hood, well, make sure either you do it good, or make sure if you have someone else do it, make sure make sure that's like their thing. Make sure they're like, I don't know, fabricators or something. Like that's their specialty. I know it's a bit more sketchy to do it with these cars because of the fiberglass in them and whatnot. But hey, you got some trade-offs to deal with. If you want to just leave it where it's at and you just want to get an exhaust, highly recommend doing that because it does at least waken up the sound of the car. The stock exhaust of this car is quite quiet. You know, it is very quiet. Like, or if you want to do just a exhaust bypass, some people do that too. Do that. Bypasses, that'll work. You know, that'll work for sure. So, but I'd say look heavily into it. At this point, if you want to just buy a separate exhaust and you want it to be like as loud as possible, probably go with Hunker Blackhearts or Billy Boats. Those are probably your two loudest options. Muffler delete, obviously the cheapest way, or exhaust bypass valve, they're still waking up the stock exhaust just a little bit. But all right, though, I'm gonna head to work. You guys have a Merry Christmas. I'm out.